Hello, this is Lisa Rusczyk with the podcast We Are All Psychic, and today it's just me. It is Friday night. Ooh, big time for me, sitting around the house with gout. And yes, I still think we're all psychic. Still. Doesn't change when I'm saying it ever. Like I haven't changed my mind about that. But it's coming out your mouth and you change your mind. I think that's when you change your mind. Had a moment like that recently, kind of, but not in particular. But this podcast is about, I'd like to talk to you listeners and watchers, if you're watching on Spotify or YouTube as the video. Fuzz on my keyboard. Yeah, of course, I'm dodging the subject. It's an uncomfortable one. Sometimes it's not really for me anymore, but I know a lot of people it would be. And that's the whole point. It's uncomfortable. When people start opening up their energetic sides, or, people call it awakening or remembering or learning magic or finding out spells work or, angels answer, finding out something like that, or maybe a relative visits for the first time and they aren't alive anymore. Maybe something like that happens in a dream, anything. Um, Maybe you start having the experiences of seeing dimes everywhere all of a sudden, or angel numbers, something very weird, and synchronicity is everywhere, it seems like, and let's say you've never heard of energy work in America ever in your entire life, or psychic, or you've heard of psychics, you don't know what it is. What if you're having this happening to you? Maybe you've heard people talking about awakening and remembering and their spirituality and in terms you don't know. Maybe that's why you're listening to this particular episode of We're All Psychic in the 10th season. I think this is episode, let's say it's episode 32, 10th season. We never know. But I know the day is I think it's May 15th. And my spirit guide just told me that May 15th. And that was Sam. Thank you, Sam. So talk about some weird stuff. So when you first start, maybe if this is you, you're having stuff happening. I'm named most of the common ones I've heard and have happened to me as they happened. And what I mean is the energy kind of just starting working and you start noticing stuff. And you're like, start to question what the hell is going on, man. If that's happening to you, this was hopefully for you. This is why I'm making this. So when I first started having more, like other listeners or regular listener, you might know I started with palmistry. And it was more of a curiosity and I loved it. I thought it was fascinating. I wanted to be psychic though. I did. I really wanted to. I was like, no, it's like you're just born that way. I just always just believed that, and I would try so hard to do stuff like the Zener cards, I've talked about this before. But then when it started happening, I didn't recognize it because it's never what you expected to be like, is kind of what I think from other people I've heard on the podcast. It wasn't like that for me. And, what you see in the movies, for me, it was scary. I was like, didn't want to tell anyone. We've talked about that on the podcast, how a lot of times, especially the females on the podcast, say they have had a tendency or a feeling all their lives, even if they weren't told not to talk about it, and they weren't raised in this kind of atmosphere of spirituality or metaphysical belief systems. They are just we have, like, it's not like that was never taboo to talk about in my house. If I had told my parents I'm psychic and proved it, they would have been like, yeah, let's go to the casino. No, for real. I think that it was the first thing that was really, really scary was when my cousin passed away. I had talked about that before, but I had a visitation from him right before I got the phone call that he passed away. And the shock of him passing away and that happening both, I mean, I was a mess. I was crying. I was with my mom. We were hugging each other. That's all I really remember are those things, those three things: the visitation from my cousin, the phone call, and then my mom, hugging my mom, crying. And when I looked back and reflected, it was just, what was that? It was, and when I felt it, the experience was very peaceful and beautiful, and it's like, oh, I get it. It's very similar to the feeling I have now when I'm doing a reading with a client or a friend or me. Not for me, I can't really read for myself. But if I'm doing a reading like that, and it's the same feeling I will get during a reading, when I'm not positive ever, but it feels like I'm positive. This is the answer. It might not be, but it feels that way. In a reading, for example, the first time I had that, like, sure sense of peace and knowledge. It's hard to explain. But I was really scared, and I knew not to tell anybody. And I didn't. I don't think I even talked about that until I was married to my first husband. Maybe I might have talked to boyfriends about it or friends when I was drinking in college or something. I don't know. I can't remember very well. I just remember I was very anxious a lot. Um, and I started noticing other people weren't as uncomfortable. Hey, I'm doing a podcast here. Quick honking, ya hon. Everyone's looking. Anyway, to make this a little more directional, I love Donna. Isn't she great? She keeps me on task and we have a good time. She's tired tonight. So anyway, I wanted to pull up. This is an app I use all the time, the Galaxy Tarot app on the Samsung is one I like a lot. And so let me see if I can get the interface off. There you go. So I brought up the Hierophant reverse on here. And the reason was it's because I wanted to do this podcast about the fear around when you start having these experiences if you're afraid. But it's a very specific kind of fear, and I don't have a name for it. I had asked Donna if she could think of it, and she didn't mention anything. But it's like a secret, like you know, a secret you shouldn't ever know, is what it seems like to me. And it's not real, though, is it? It's almost like having a false memory, but not really a false memory. Remembering a dream, but not sure if it's a dream or deja vu at the same time. Feelings like that. But the sensations in the body and in my mind and my emotions and stuff like that. So and there was a lot of self-consciousness around it too. If I were around people and I had experiences like knowing what they were thinking, and I started realizing that was what was happening, not what they were thinking word for word, but a general idea of what might be going on when I hadn't even met them. And then they come up and tell me something, whoa, what they told me, wow, I was just thinking they were going to say. And I'd just be like, uh, you know, so there are keywords on here for the Hierophant reverse. Now, if you're not a tarot reader, this is the Rider Waite tarot card, the Hierophant. Oh, I don't have the card. I just have the screenshot of the card. So the Hierophant is like the priest. Is it? You know, he's doctrine. So he's reversed. I was doing a reading on how I should do this podcast, how I should approach it, and that's the card I pulled. And in the app, I use this app for myself usually, other than cards. I don't know why. It just works for me really well. Um, so it has these keywords, and I wanted to go through them because I think this is what we all go through breaking the belief systems. The Hierophant upright is kind of like the belief systems of our culture right now, as far as spirituality. That's what he represents. And reversed is kind of and in this case, it's going into like kind of negative connotations. When I read a reverse card, I usually think of like extremely like the exact opposite or the worst case scenario, best case scenario. Like sorry, like I'll explain it. Like the Hierophant reverse in here says dogmatism, outdated tradition, spiritual corruption, questioning beliefs, spiritual disconnection, and skepticism. So like for me, the Hierophant reverse a lot of times means an alternative healer. So like this is my card, a healer, you know, the healer, the tarot reader. She's a tarot reader. I thought it's a hopefully someday upright will be the Hierophant tarot reader. Anyway, hopefully for me, that'd be cool, man. I always wanted to be in some kind of clergy or something, you know, be involved in a spiritual field when I was younger, and I couldn't because I didn't want to because women couldn't do anything in any of the religions I was exposed to. And I really don't feel like I fit in religion. And I didn't feel like going to a priest with what was happening to me at all. Not because I didn't like the priest or any of I loved my priests. I mean, when I was a kid, the priests were, I looked up to them. You know, I just didn't think much about it. But I wouldn't go to them with a big problem like that. That's what most people would think in the South. Go to your pastor or priest. I mean, that's what I would have heard if I told somebody that in the South, usually. You need an exorcism. No, not really. It's hard to explain this feeling, but if you have that feeling where you just don't want to tell, and there's fear there, if you just think about telling, like right up in here, kind of through here, I think there's something energetic to saying it out loud, and it's where it gets stuck, like the throat chakra, in my opinion. So I'm going to go through these keywords. These are the things that I think we face when we start experiencing these kinds of things. Dogmatism, outdated traditions. So, like, we may realize the reason we don't want to talk about it is because well, the way we're doing things, we're noticing isn't really working for me personally, for my case, for me wanting to be in a spiritual field of some sort, religious field is what I thought of it as when I was younger. And I was like, there's no power. It's not power that I wanted, but there's no role of a woman in any religions I knew of. There weren't one. I wouldn't want to teach. I'd want to give services and do blessings and stuff like that. That was what I would think I would want to do. They didn't let women. So that's like the dogmatism and the outdated traditions phase for me. So if I talked about this, well, I'm not gonna fit it. There's something around that too. The next keyword, spiritual corruption. And questioning beliefs is the one after that. They kind of go together because if you start noticing that places are corrupt, I worked as a sound tech in many churches, and they weren't like they're all corrupt, it's not like that. But everybody's a person, man. Everybody's people. We're all people, and I guess I got disillusioned, and I did kind of started questioning a lot of beliefs around money and religion and spirituality, and I didn't understand what was going on. I always knew, like, in my point of view was blah 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 blah. Churches take the money, and I should go to the poor. Blah. I don't really know the politics of church. I didn't, at least until I started working in them, and I got a little idea. There are politics in every business, and a church is a business, is what I realized, and that made me very sad. But then I didn't, because like it the way it was structured for religion bothered me because you couldn't do stuff like change it. You couldn't change that women invite them in. Like I think the Methodist religion does. I'm not sure. Um, I did work at a Methodist church, and the pastor, I think they did call her a pastor, was a female. She was great. And they had another female there, I think, too, also said services, spoke service. I don't know what they call it in Methodist. I'm sorry, Methodism. I don't know religions. Anyway, um, so when I was recognizing that, spiritual is not religion, kind of just got there, for me, they're two different things. That's when I'm questioning my belief systems. And that's scary because it's like, wow, is there anybody else out there who's going to connect with me on this topic? Wow, a hawk just flew over me. And then I saw its shadow cross my path 3 times. What's that mean? Is anyone else interested in that? Wow, I think it's cool as hell. Somebody might be, So I did start asking some people, did you notice, did you see, and some people did. Some people just didn't. Most people saw what I noticed. If they didn't, they kind of had to think back and go, yeah, yeah, yeah. A cardinal, for example, or a vibe. Oh, now that's something people will always say they notice now. Vibe, that word, the vibe in the room or something. People can relate on that. It's empathy, guys. So if you go to a party and you're feeling scared all of a sudden and everyone's looking uncomfortable, it's probably because no one's having fun and you're picking all that up and you're feeling that energy and you don't know what's happening and you're just scared because everyone's miserable. And why are you scared? Because everyone's miserable. You may feel like an innate responsibility to fix the situation with your energy. Because that's what our energy wants to do most of the time. I think it wants to fix. Feels like it does anyway. It wants to restructure. I don't know how to explain it. And then the next couple of keywords here, last two, are spiritual disconnection and skepticism. They're the hard ones, spiritual disconnection and skepticism. Because I really just, I loved God. I loved the Catholic God, Jesus, Holy Spirit. Loved Mary, loved the saints, loved the angels, loved everything. I didn't like Mass, I've said that. But, I got really skeptical, man. I never went atheist, but I was agnostic for a good 20 years. On this podcast is when I started believing in God again. And when I really, really believed in God, I'm just kidding. But for me, I guess my advice to you listeners and watchers, if you're checking this one out and you're wondering about what the sphere is, I'd love to hear any comments you have. I mean, if you have a name for it, or if you call it something, a phrase, anything. I always kind of think of it as like if you can reverse swallow, not throwing up, but reverse swallow, something like that. It'd be like that, but like water and lightning shooting up to here and then stopping. It's cold too, like cold lightning, water, icy. I don't know. That's what it feels like. Go with that. Listen to those commenters. Other things that gave me that fear, mainly was the empathy that really got me with that, and really weird stuff happening. And when it was happening, it didn't feel as weird as thinking back on it. every single time. It was like, huh, this feels just like it's supposed to happen. What? What's that? What's that? Like the time I saw the fairy, I asked to go. Was there? Oh, it happened, but it was something that you may notice if, as you go on, if you watch this and you go on, and this means this helps you in any way, and you have this problem, and you go on about your life, and these things, you maybe you feel a little more confident that you have an identity, some kind of relational tool. Oh, this is happening. Maybe I am working with energy, and these fears and these things I'm experiencing, other people are experiencing, and they have some words. Maybe I can contribute a comment for this word. I would say, talk to someone. Don't follow a guru. Never follow any guru. I would never do that. I don't think anyone should follow a guru. That's a religion. But I'm not a religious person. So, I mean, if you want a guru, I'm not saying, "No, no, no, I'm your." I'm just saying, my advice is like the spiritual path is the inward path. It's you go in down in here. You go inside, you can relate to people about the inside better, who you are. You can show through in everything you do if you know who you are, right? That's kind of where I got with my spiritual beliefs, and they were so messed up after a while. As far as where I wanted to be with spirituality, I wanted to be at peace and have like this great compassionate feeling inside me, and all the time I've demanded it, man. Never had it. I was really depressed, and when I finally felt better after a long time, when I realized I was working with energy and started working in the field with my energy around 35, and I'm 51, I think by then I was still having that scared feeling, the lightning fear. I'll call it the lightning fear. You can name it something better, I'm sure. The cold lightning fear. um, cold lightning throat fear. Don't tell. Tell. Tell someone with that same feeling knows exactly what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Your friend that knows stuff, or that they don't know they know. But you know who you're thinking of right now that you would tell. And you know exactly why, because of what you know about them. This whole thing knows about them somehow. And because most people think it goes all the way out here. Some people say it's your arm's length. Some people say all kinds of things. It's really cool when you get into it. And as I started working in the field, it got weirder. And as the weird stuff happens and the fear goes away around the weird stuff, it gets normalized for me. It got normalized for me. It'll get normalized for you if you just let it get used to it. Oh, don't run away. Because it just doesn't go away. um, and recognize it. I like having a name for something. I like that a lot. So it's okay to be different if you think you're different. For one thing, it's okay. I mean, I don't know what people believe now, but I was always afraid of being different. And when I didn't really worry about that as much, it was a big deal for me because I've always been very different in feeling from the inside. But when I feel like I can relate to someone, especially on this podcast with the watchers and listeners, like when I'm doing like a solo podcast, I feel like I can connect with you. And I talk to you. And when I was younger, I would talk to usually a lover about what I was experiencing, and they were very skeptical, all of them. I remember telling one boyfriend when I was like 24 or 25 that I was psychic. And I was like one of the first people I think, no, I told my therapist. She was the first outsider. I think I did tell this boyfriend I was psychic, and I was like, I'd never told like a boyfriend. I hadn't dated in a long time at that point anyway. And he was like, "Really? I am too, kind of." I was like, "What?" And we talked about like just our experiences, and it was really interesting. I mean, he was real skeptical at first. He was, but then he did talk about his experiences. He's a very spiritual person. He was a Catholic in my old Catholic place when I grew up, St. Anne. I think he went to that church. Um, he was younger. Anyway, so it was cool though. I got lucky there. I did sense that I could tell him. I did sense it would be okay, even though he was very Catholic, if that makes sense. Because Catholics, I've heard some people on the show, I guess it's different wherever you live, but some Catholicism, oh, there's a beautiful bird. Some Catholicism, some places it's more open to like any kind of anything that sounds like a miracle, really, to Catholics. In some places, it's like they want you to be as unique. They really do encourage to search within, and that's something about the church I went to. I think maybe it was like that in the South for me because they were the Catholics in the South. There weren't many Catholics in Alabama, and so we were the weird ones. We were the outcasts in those areas because religion is such a big deal. There was then, especially in my area of the country, religion was what everybody did to socialize, really, there's nothing else to do in the 80s and 90s in Alabama. And now there's still not much more to do there. And maybe that's something to think about when you're questioning spiritual beliefs, and religious doctrine and dogma, stuff like that. What do you believe deep down inside you through all your blah, 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 your spiritual experiences and through like the fear moments and what is that and identifying things for yourself, figuring out what happened. And you always know, you go, aha, trust your instincts, trust your gut. And the fear will start to fade every time you let these experiences just happen. You examine them if you can. That's my advice. So examine them, look back, be afraid a little bit to look back. It's okay. And then just as often as you're looking and reading and studying into it, the fear just kind of goes away. And the more you understand the best you can what's happening to yourself in any capacity in your life, I'd say you're going to be happier, better, more productive. Anyway, listeners and watchers, I love you. Everclear, I love you. My sponsor, Everclear, is an advice app and website where you can get advice from psychics and empaths to get the clarity you need to create the life you deserve. I'm an advisor there under the name Lisa Rusczyk, and Donna, my co-host, is there under the name Donna Murphy. There's a lot of great advisors there. You've seen a lot of them on the podcast. I think we just had Ophiel in the last podcast. He's on Everclear. And we're advisors and we give advice, psychic advice, empath advice. It's fun. I don't get this. Like, it's kind of interesting in the field that this does come up some. As a reader professionally, usually I'd say 10 years ago or 15 years ago, people were always asking about their lives. But now I get a lot of people asking about their spiritual sides, what's happening to them. That's not where they start usually. Or they're really in the field already, or they are very studied. It's very different than it used to be. And so I think a lot of that fear is gone, but if it's still there, you guys, what do you do to cold lightning in your throat? I guess you would, let's see, fire, no, fire, water. Lightning, you ground, and frozen water in lightning. Once you ground the lightning, I guess everything just takes care of itself. It just kind of go psst. The ice would melt. So everybody, thank you for watching and listening as always. If you have any questions, I can't think of anything specific other than what I've told you. You may be a Hierophant reverse, and that's okay. And if you are, it doesn't have to be the central part of your life. Yeah, so that's something I really want to make a point of in this podcast. Most of us who come on here now, I know I have some randoms where I've been in Alabama and here in Nashville. Random people come on and people I know and stuff like that. They're not in the field, but they do. They've all said they think that we have intuition. And I think that's a really cool thing that we all know that word. That's a great word. Intuition and empathy. Those are great words. And they have always existed all my life. It's not long, compared to human history, I imagine. But it's an all right life. Anyway, guys, you have a great time. And maybe you're having a good time on a Friday night and going to the pool. I don't know, going to the church, maybe bar. I don't know. I'm probably going to mix this and post it. And if you do have that fear and you don't want to post a comment, you can send me an email at lisa@weareallpsychic.com. And if I can help you out, I'm not going to charge you or anything. I would just like rate. I'd rather a comment because anyway, that would help everybody if you have this going on. If I don't have the answer, somebody else would. And get readings. I do advise that if this is happening to you, try to go to a professional psychic and like in your town, go in person and feel their energy because it's different on the. It's not for us. It's not different on the phone, but for some people who've never had these experiences and they don't know what's happening, it's terrifying to call a psychic. It was for me. I lost an engagement ring, and I called the psychic, and for the first time when I was 34 or 30 or something, and I was really on the verge of going back into trying in that field again because I had once before and did not work. It didn't work because I was too scared. That fear. I logged in and that fear got me. The lightning, the cold lightning. Cold lightning fear. So yeah, maybe if you want to comment or write, well, somebody will find you an answer or help you in some capacity if you ask for it. I really do believe that's why I keep asking, even though I say I know what house. There's usually somebody who will, if I just keep on trying, right? Just keep on trying. Peace out. Love you. Bye, listeners.